Epitome Energy has chosen Grand Forks over Crookston as the site for a new soybean crushing plant. The new plant will be able to process 42 million bushels of soybeans a year, creating oil and meal. The announcement made at the Grand Forks City Council meeting Monday evening.
Mr. Egan, the floor is yours, and I understand you have a little politics in your background. You were the former mayor of Red Wing, is that correct?
Yes, Mayor. So I really do appreciate the opportunity and understand the important role that city governments play. And so, Mr. Mayor, council members, and staff really do appreciate the opportunity to be in front of you today, because we think from our perspective it's a pretty exciting day. We would like to be able to announce publicly that we would like to position Epitome Energy as your next egg processing facility in the city of Grand Forks. We think there is a great opportunity to talk about the soybean industry and what we believe is an important role in processing value add in this region. As you'll see on the slide, that over the last couple of decades, the soybean industry and planted acres have grown well over 300%. And we are proposing to build a 42 million bushel soybean crush facility just north of Grand Forks. From an economic driver standpoint, we'll talk a little bit about the impact from construction side of things, as well as permanent long-term employment. And then lastly, I think coming from the background that I do and being a past mayor, had some great examples of community-minded businesses. If you look at Red Wing, Minnesota, Red Wing Shoe stands out in what their national brand and international brand means. But from a community standpoint, the giving back to the community, allowing their employees to participate in many activities and really being that cornerstone of the community. We want to emulate what we have and what I have learned over the years in terms of involvement from a community-based business model. So again, we're seeking to build a 42 million bushel soybean crush facility. It'll process about 120,000 bushels of soybeans daily. We'll operate 24/7, 350 days a year. What we will have out of that, we'll take the full soybean and we will make a meal, and we'll have about 940,000 tons of meal. We'll have about 60 million gallons of crude degummed vegetable oil that then can go on for further processing in a number of industries, which we'll talk about. And then we have soybean hulls. It'll be a $400+ million investment that we'd like to make in the city of Grand Forks. One of the big questions that we get asked is availability of the soybean. Lots of news in North Dakota over the last couple of years in terms of value add soybean crush facility, with ADM's announcement in Spirit Wood, and then most recently the Castleton project and their announcement. Both of them have been permitted. We understand within the last week the Castleton project has received their air permit for the state of North Dakota. And if you go out on their site right now, they've already started moving dirt. And they submitted their air permit, I believe, in February of this year. And so from an efficiency standpoint, we really like what the state of North Dakota has done. On this map, you'll see the Grand Forks in green, you'll see Castleton in purple, and then the Spirit Wood in brown. That just is giving you a snapshot, and for investors and individuals, indicating the availability of soybeans in this marketplace. And so you'll see very little overlap in terms of availability of soybeans, which is a big driver for these projects. The site will have access, personally purchase about 55 acres, but we'll have access to some additional acres for future development. One of the things that a project like ours takes a look at is availability of infrastructure. So what roads are adjacent to it, what railroads do we have access to. On this site, we'll have access to BNSF railroad, and then in a short distance, we'll have the ability to access the CP rail for a transload facility. We do have and have talked to the utilities, so from a water perspective, natural gas, electric, we believe that all of the infrastructure is right here. Global demand for proteins, which is the soybean meal primarily, that is a growing industry in this region. We had a study done by a group called AURI, it's the Ag Utilization and Research Facility, talking about this market and the dynamics and what livestock is available for the soybean meal. We believe that's well over 300,000 tons of soybean on an annual basis. We've also had extensive conversations with the hog industry just north in Canada. They grow over 4 million hogs on an annual basis, and they all eat soybean meal. We'll be the closest soybean processing facility to the north or to the Canadian hog industry. And so lots of export going out on the California PNW. And the demand for protein again is growing exponentially. On the oil side, what's driving a lot of the soybean crush facilities is the renewable diesel industry. That really is by and far the largest use of any new soybean oil coming into the marketplace. It also can be used in the biodiesel industry. On the Minnesota side, the mandate for Minnesota using green fuels is a 20% blend of biodiesel for 6 months of the year, and that drops down into cold weather for 5%, and that continues to grow. And then obviously food and cooking, the crafts of the world are all looking for soybean oil for mayonnaise and those types of products. This is a quick snapshot of the growth of the renewable diesel industry in the United States. These are existing and future plants, and you can see the types of names that are proposing these, everything from BP to Marathon in the state of North Dakota, to Phillips 66, World Energy, and that list continues to grow. This industry is going to go from about 1 billion gallons on an annual basis, and some indicate that it could top 5 billion gallons of renewable diesel. One of the primary inputs for renewable diesel is soybean oil. Some of the market opportunities on the protein side, again, we talk a little bit about the livestock industry. We've got the Manitoba hog industry. We've got Jennie-O turkey and the turkey industry and the layers. But you can see that on the livestock industry, this market continues to grow, and the use of proteins and soybean hulls for the livestock industry. From a time frame, with this announcement today, the clock has started. From our perspective, we would like to be able to submit our air permit no later than February of next year, which then gives us about a 6-month window or so with the state of North Dakota to get our air permit. In the meantime, we've seen, as did Castleton, they started moving dirt without putting that infrastructure in place that you would build on. But all of that we would like to be able to get started second quarter of next year. And then it's about a 20-month construction process and be operational and crushing beans fall of 25. Depending on any delays on equipment, that could get pushed to spring of 26, but our target goal is to be operational fall of 25. On the project side, just a quick snapshot, about half of the $400 million will come in debt financing, the other half will come into equity. Some of our project partners and people that we've already talked to on the electric side, our legal team, Northern Plains Rail is the entity in which we're purchasing land from. They're actually here in the office or in the audience tonight. Our longtime CPA and financial forecaster is Christensen Associates. They've been in the industry and have probably 150 ethanol plants, biodiesel plants, crush facilities that they've worked on over the years. We anticipate getting our natural gas from Epitome Energy and being our partner there. And then we've got somebody in the audience from Stantec. They're actually going to do the air permit, and they're just wrapping up the air permit for the Castleton project as well. Our leadership team, Scott Erdahl has come on board and is working with us. He spent 14 years at CHS in this industry and is really kind of the industry expert for soybean crush facility that we're leaning on. We also have not just industry people, but business people looking at the finances, looking at the project development side of things. We're also working and proud to say that Fagan Inc. out of Minnesota is actually going to be the EPC contractor But we've also have talked to Grand Forks and East Grand Forks contractors and subcontractors for this project, and really are committed to using as many local people as we can with this project, as is Fagan. We'll actually be Fagan's fourth or fifth soybean crush facility of this size that they will have built in the last 3 years. And so they've got a great track record of being on time and on budget, delivering projects like ours. And then we've got some national folks with Joe Job, who's on the national side of things from a policy standpoint, and then RAP Strategy and Todd Rapp helping us out as well with some of our strategic thinking. Quick bio of Dennis Egan and who I am. I can answer that questions if you need to. Scott Erdahl, a quick snapshot of Scott and his background. Next steps, as was talked about, we'd like to be in front of you and ask for the green light to start a developers agreement and really set that roadmap in terms of where do we go, how do we be successful working with Grand Forks in the state of North Dakota. I think I also want to hit on the fact that we are and have tried to develop a project, and many of you may have known this, in Crookston, Minnesota. We spent the last 4 years. You may say, well, why aren't you building there? We spent the last 16 months working with MPCA on the air permit, and it's just the uncertainty in terms of where that was going to go. We knew we were going to get an air permit because they put that out to public comment, but it's the types of conditions that they wanted to put on a processing facility that no other plant in the United States would be looking at. And so we decided 3-4 months ago that we were going to look for an alternative site. We believe Crookston and North Dakota, 30 miles from our existing facility in which we had intended to build. So we today made the transition and wanted to publicly say that we would like to be able to join Grand Forks in your business community and be a part of it. So again, we'd be here asking for that development agreement and working with city staff and EDA folks to put together a project that is right for this community. And so that kind of wraps up the quick overview of who Epitome is and what our project entails.
Plans for a new major soybean crushing plant in Grand Forks moving forward. I'm Neil Carlson reporting for iNewZ.TV.